What's going on, guys? My name is Justin Morris, and today we are here with my Model 3 and one of the most fun accessories that you can get for your Model 3 or Model Y, and that is this full width tail light. So it comes with both tail lights and the light bar, but let's go ahead and take a look inside the box. All right, so inside the box, we've got instructions. We've got replacement tail lights. So you got both pieces right there, and obviously got that for both sides. And then we have the showstopper itself, the light bar that spreads between. And of course, we have all the included wiring to get that all wired up. All right, let's go ahead and get started. All right, so the first thing you're gonna wanna do is go ahead and look through this list and just make sure that everything on there is also included in your box. Like I should probably turn the car off. So for that, you're just gonna wanna go into your settings, safety, and scroll all the way down to where it says power off. First thing we're going to want to do is unscrew these right here. Alright, so these might be a little tight. If you get a wrench, you can get it started. A couple turns is all you need, and then you can get it the rest of the way with your fingers. Alright, so we're going to remove this here. And it's going to be on there pretty tight, but if you just kind of pull down and back with it, then it'll come up. And this is just going to be where we're going to route the wires through. And once you get it past about the tail light, you can kind of just tuck it inside. All right, in order to get access behind the tail light here, you actually have to remove this upper piece, which is held in place by those clips right there. So that gives us access to these two bolts right here, where we can take the nuts off the backside. All right, so 9mm socket right there. And they're not super tight, so a few turns you can get it with your fingers. Just be careful not to drop it. And now this whole tail light piece should just come out. It's the same thing on both sides, so just a couple turns and get the rest of it with your fingers. All right, on this one, it's helpful if you have the charge door open, so you can get your fingers right here, and then you're just gonna wiggle it and pull straight out. All right, this step is optional, but might as well clean it up a little bit while you have the tail light out. To get to this portion of the tail light, this entire black plastic piece has to come off, so you can get your trim removal tool. If you can sneak it in there nice and carefully, maybe find a spot where there's a little bit bigger of a gap like there. Get it started. If you can sneak your hand under there, you can really get around the edges. So once you get a few off, you can kind of peek in here and see where the rest are. And that'll help you figure out where to pull. So there's that. All right, so inside the trunk, next to this plug, you'll see there is another 8mm nut that you have to take off right there to get to the taillight. For these ones, it's helpful to have a little bit longer of a socket. Get it started. Try your hardest not to lose it. So on these, you want to pop this clear piece out first. Probably with a screwdriver or your trim panel tool. And then that'll let you pull the whole thing out. All right, for this part of the taillight, after you get the nut off and your clip off, you just want to go ahead and pry from here, and that'll let you pull this piece right out. Once again, optional, but you can clean this out if you want. All right, so we're gonna start with the bottom tail lights here. All right, so in the box, you have 2 sets of wires. And you'll notice if you hold them end to end, that one of the wires will be longer than the other. And that longer wire is the one that you're gonna attach to the left tail light. All right, so you're gonna go take the tail light, stick all these wires through, and just make the connections on the inside. And then to get this seated in place, you just want to give it a nice push from right here. And you'll hear it snap into place, and that means you're good to go. So for the right side, you're going to take your shorter cable, and these can only go one way. Get those connected up. Then you're going to connect this. All right, so now you're going to take your loose wire, you're going to tuck it in all the way through. So now I'm just kind of straightening out the wire, because what we're going to do is feed it up through here. And you're just going to follow this wire loom that's already here, and then we're just going to zip tie alongside that. So I'm going to take one of these zip ties, and right where it's coming out, just going to go ahead and zip tie that. Put a few zip ties just throughout the cable to keep it nice and tidy. So I'm putting a zip tie right on top of these pre-existing ones. That'll just kind of help hold this thing in place. All right, so after you route these wires up here, you go through this hole, and you're gonna have a lot of slack, but you're gonna run one over to the right side and one over to the left side. With all this slack in the middle, you probably will have a lot. You're just gonna take it and zip tie that as well. Just go through and clip all the excess off. Being careful not to touch your wires. So for these, you're gonna have to disconnect it to feed these wires through. And they go through this hole. And then to hold that in place while you're working, you're gonna need some masking tape. Because if you were to push it, it's gonna be hard to pull it back out again. So I'm just gonna put one piece up here at the top, and one piece down here at the bottom. And that should be enough to hold it in place. All the way. So now we're just connecting these wires up. They can all only go one way, and you're just matching the colors. Now the main attraction. So there's one other cable in the box, and you can see it's labeled left and right. Now you're going to take the car's existing plug and plug it into this loose wire. Push this back down. That locks it into place. Now we're connecting the light bar just to test it out. So now that we tested the light bar and it's working, we got to clean where it's going to go. So they have this included wipe. Just take that out. I'm just going to wipe wherever the bar is going to come into contact with. I want to get a couple long pieces of masking tape and just get it ready for when we put the light bar in place. Just stick it to itself for now. Same thing on the other side. So you'll notice on the tail lights that there's a little notch on that section right there, and that's actually where you're going to feed these wires through. So we got to take this masking tape off. So we're going to slide that light out of the way so that we can feed these wires through. We're just going to kind of rest the light bar there for now. Put this back. And like I was saying about that notch, that's where you want these wires to go through. So we'll get this kind of situated. Get these wires to try and lay flat. Then you can see the light bar mates up with the tail light just like that. So I temporarily sort of just held the light bar in place with the masking tape, and I'm just going to push this back into its spot. Just like that. So once you get your wires through, you can go ahead and thread that nut, and then you're going to get your socket and tighten it down. That'll help close this gap here. Going to connect the light bar just like that. So on the back side, you're just going to peel off the little red protective film that covers the 3M tape. You pull that one low and this one high, and you're just going to make sure your light bar is where you want it to be and that your gap is even on both sides. So that looks pretty good. And you can start peeling the 3M tape back and then sticking it as you go. So now, once it's on there, you got your 3M tape secured. You're just gonna give it a nice long press in a bunch of different spots. Make sure it's sealed on there. So this piece sort of just presses back on here. You might have to spread it out a little bit.
Yeah.